Hello, my name is Rachel Savage from Brand New Story, and I'm here today to stand up for the story of two brands this time. They're two banks, Starling Bank and Monzo Bank. So, about a week or so ago, I ordered the founder of Starling Bank's book. She's released her autobiography. It's gone on my pile next to my bed. But in the serialisation of the book, what came across was that Anne Bowden from Starling and Tom Blomfield from Monzo have had a very, very public spat over recent years. And so I thought this was really interesting in terms of their stories and who they are as, as organisations. And I think, in my experience, one of the things that defines or kind of differentiates a brand from another brand is its purpose. So, coming straight onto the two sites here. So at the head of Starling's site, we've got Changing Banking for Good and Bonzo, Banking Made Easy. So these are both really common things that we just see on most banks' websites. So I'm kind of thinking, well, what is there here? Is there more to find? So we'll get to that in a moment. But one of the things that I do when I look at a website is I ask the question, is this a shop window or a conversation? Now, a shop window talks about features and benefits and discusses, things like a shop window would. It's basically you're putting the wares out on sale. So you're basically talking about what are the features and what are the benefits of shopping with your brand. So look, on Starling, yes, it's very much a shop window at the moment, and with Bonzo, very similar. Monzo, sorry. With Monzo, very similar. It's all about the features and about the benefits, and they both look quite similar actually with the phones. And I know that when I was looking to open a business account about 6 or 8 months ago, I found them it was like you can't go wrong with either really, which is can be quite a common occurrence in business. So how can your story, if you're in business and you've got a very close competitor, how can your story give you differentiation? So in both of the sites, it feels like we have to really dig down to start getting hold of a personality, a kind of get into the conversational tone of and the humanity behind the brand of who the bank is and what they stand for. One of the bits that really stood out for me on the Starling site, once you get past the founding story, is this bit here where we talk about you talk about the starling bird. It's a rather successful bird which arrives in huge numbers in each new territory and displaces the old guard. Enough said. This is the kind of stuff that makes my ears prick up, makes me think, well, what's the story under there? How does that relate to Starling's purpose? It's a female-led business. Like, what's going on here? Like, I just really want to hear more about you. And I have to say, it was a conversation I had with the bank via phone that made me choose between the two. I went to Starling simply because I had a female founder. But is that always going to be enough? And actually, should that kind of purpose be slap bang at the top of your website, whatever your particular purpose is? Not saying that Starling should be about that at all. And it's the same going into the Monzo site. Again, you have to dig quite. It's all here, like on both sites. All of the info is here, but there's some really interesting stuff. Like as a writer, I found the tone of voice. This is quite interesting. About inclusivity and language. I'm not quite sure what it's doing here, but you clearly care about your brand and about the words that you use. So there's stuff here around also. There was some stuff around purpose. Where did I see that? Social mission. So social impact around accessibility, vulnerable customers, financial inclusion, the environment. I think a lot of this information, this is the kind of stuff that when we're choosing a bank, we want this right on the homepage. We want the humanity of a brand and of a business right up there, so we can really decide, is this someone I get on with? You know, your brand's a person essentially. It's the human interaction between you and potential customers. Same here with Starling, changing banking for good. And it's interesting because I had a conversation with somebody, and their version of what changing banking for good, what it meant for them. They're also another Starling customer. It's completely different to mine. So it's really interesting how the customers, the interpretation is so, because there is yet to be that solid story there. The interpretation can go quite wide and be quite different to different people. The narrative isn't quite being owned enough yet by Starling. So I think what this kind of goes to show is I think one of the biggest challenges that people who come to me struggle with is that when they're trying to differentiate themselves from their competitors. And I think that if you can tell your story clearly, this is going to be the one thing that is just really going to help you to stand out and connect with those customers. So over to you. Oh, that's all from me. Over to you. If you're interested in finding out if you know you've got a competitor that's one other competitor that it's really neck and neck, a bit like these guys, and you'd like to find out how creating your story would help, you can visit my website at brandnewstory.co.uk. You can also there book a story health check, which is just like this one, that would help you to see where you are in terms of telling your story and connecting with people. Thanks for listening.